Things I hate in Honkai. By me, aka HSR champion expert. So first thing we have to talk about are fucking relics. Oh my god, the relics are one of the hardest things to deal with in this game. Most infuriating part. So we'll talk about some of the negatives right up front. The RNG of the stats is insane. And not just that it's random, because random is one thing, but then when there's a diminished percentage chance for speed over like percent defense boots is insane. When speed boots are the best case scenario, 80% of the time you can run attack percent boots on your main. Okay, so that'd be 90% of the time speed boots are better than even attack percent or even HP percent, which is only good for like blade. Why is she moaning so damn much? Bitch. Look at your phone. The fact that speed is like the only boot that you really care about is insane. And it has the lowest percent chance. And I know this because I was trying to get another set of the Pioneer set, which is the debuff damage set, which is the debuff damage set that you run on most characters. For instance, Akron, Pioneer's Heatproof Shell. Here I have Speed Boot for Topaz and her, and then I think I have one other one saved up somewhere. It appears not, because it's that rare of a drop. I spent so much time farming it. In defense percent, I got 8 out of 10 times. I think I had maybe 1 attack percent with no crit substats. Let alone the RNG substats for speed as well, being super rare for items. For instance, my Akron has amazing relics for the most part, except for they lack speed. She's currently sitting at 140, but she has pretty insane crit damage. I have E1, so she gets a little extra. Crit rate. But like for this ring, for instance, 29, 30% crit damage. Teensy bit of crit rate and no speed. And anyone that I come across that has speed, of course, is missing one of the crit substats. A flat HP and flat defense just should not be stats. There's almost never a time where you get flat HP and you're happy about it, or flat defense. Percent HP and percent defense is just better. Mathematically, you're not going to reach a point where you get diminishing returns on the percent defense over flat defense. So main stat RNG is just as painful as substat RNG. Getting this boot is insane. And even it had rolls into effect hit rate, which ruined it from being a like near perfect boot. And even then, this flat defense is useless, and I'd rather it be attack percent. And then you look at the stats on the orbs and ropes, and you just don't care. Farming these are the worst. So this is where most guide makers are going to tell you to ignore the sets and in favor for stats. So I'm using Glamoth 2-piece, which is not her best rope on Acheron. You want to have something like the purple red one because she really loves attack percent, and she's going to be playing with at least one other Nihil to get the 12% crit rate. But the chances of me replacing this piece with 4 speed and double crit substats are next to nothing. In terms of the rope's not that strong, but it's pretty decent. I don't have too many ropes like this one that I'm using on Kafka, where it has massive speed rolls and crit rate, crit damage. These ropes are few and far between for me. Most of my carries are sporting 1 crit substat. Or speed if I'm able to get it. I find the item sets to be unintuitive. What ones are the best ones on each unit? When you get Jing Liu, first thing you do when you see this character, you go, oh, she's an ice character. Let me equip Hunter Glacial Force. This is the set I normally use on her. And this isn't that good, despite having 10% increase in ice damage and increased crit damage after using ultimate, which a lot of her damage comes around her ultimate, a bit before, a bit after, a bit during. Ends up, it's quantum set. Because of the defense ignore, and it's just extra good if they already have quantum weakness on the enemy. It's 20%. So how is this piece going to be able to stand up to this quantum set? The quantum set can pretty much go on any carry still. Let's reference Pridwin, one of the go-to websites for everyone, at least in English-speaking part of the world. Let's take a look. And here you can see Genius of the Brilliant Stars, when they're quantum weak, is indeed the highest. This doesn't make any sense to new players and can be quite confusing. Also, I think the game incentivizes you to do sets, even though, as every guide maker will tell you, doing a mix set is best. For instance, my Sparkle is only using the 2 set bonus from Hackerspace, which is the go-to support gear. It's because this piece here has 4 speed on it, bringing my Sparkle up to 151 speed. Let's look at my Pela. She's at 158 speed. She's breaking the sound barrier. And she only has 2 and 2 bonus. One that doesn't do a lot for her in attack increase, and the one that does nothing for her with increased damage follow-up attacks. For the most part, I just prefer doing the sets to make it easier on myself. But for instance, if I wanted to have the best stats for my Kafka, I could switch to lightning set, you get 4 speed there. And 6 speed there. So part of me wishes for a little bit easier to understand relic system for newer people. You get very few per energy spent. You get, when your equilibrium level is maxed out, you get 2, maybe 3 5-star pieces. The rest are just ground up for experience to feed into your relics. In 24-hour time span, you can get 6 runs. $40 energy per run into 240 is 6. So that means that you're getting, like I said, 2 to 3 5-star relics times 6. You're getting between 12 to 18. On average, you're probably going to end up closer to 12. And as we said, the majority of the boots you get are not speed, and you're not going to get boots even 3/4 of the time per slot, so you get higher chances with 3 if 3 drop at the same time. But that's still, so if we say speed boots are a 10% chance, and then you have 3 slots for that to happen, you start approaching to 30%. I know that's not how stats work, but it does go up. But that's only if they were to roll boots. So you have to take that 10% and then multiply it by 25%. So now you're at 2.5% chance of getting a speed boot per 5-star drop. So 10% times 0.25. And then we'll multiply that by 100, so you can see that is 2.5% chance per 5-star drop. You're starting to reach the possibility of pulling a 5-star character on a banner, which is at 0.6%, realistically, to get a speed boot. Now imagine you want a speed boot with crit rate and crit damage. I got lucky with, I have that one that I have for Acheron, and I'm pretty sure none of my other characters have dual crit substats. So now you add that into the equation, you're at 2.5% chance, and we'll say there's 4 sub slots, and there's like 8 different types. Let's just say it's a 1 in 4 chance you get both. It's probably way lower than that. You're now below 1%, and now you're at the chance of pulling a 5-star character. And then you have to enhance the relic, and you have 4 chances to enhance crit rate and crit damage. Remember, this is napkin math. This is not official math in any way. You now have 4 chances to fuck up and for stats to go in the wrong place. So now we're getting to the point to have perfect speed boots with crit rate, crit damage substats. below the chance of a 5-star. And it's the same as with no pity or 50-50 failures of getting the piece you want, because that could let's say we're farming that quantum set we mentioned earlier. It sits in Path of Providence. So all at the end of all that math, we have to multiply it by 50%. Because you could have all that shit drop, and it would be for Guard of Withering Snow. Withering Waves is coming out, and I'm excited. I'm going to be playing that game. I'm hoping to pump out a lot of YouTube content for that. But at the end of all that, it could end up being Guard of Withering Snow. Granted, you wouldn't upgrade that item, but that 50-50 still exists at the beginning. You could farm all day and only get Path of Providence items and no boots for Quantum Set. That's why people hate the relic system, and that's why everyone tells you just farm what you can and then put together the best you can. And to max out traces. Maxing traces will get you consistent damage very easy with a lot less work. And only pursue the stats. Don't hold yourself to actually getting the perfect stats. For instance, Black Swan wants somewhere in the neighborhood of 120% effect hit rate. I'm at over 100%, which is fine, because I'm maxing out the Pan Cosmic Commercial Enterprise, Orb, and Rope. And honestly, a lot of you, when you're doing Simulated Universe or even Memory of Chaos, your characters are going to get hit. So having a little extra defense substats isn't going to hurt you at all. I could rant about relics for a long time. But like I was saying, RNG is crazy. Getting the right substats is even crazier. Getting the right set when you're farming for those is craziest, and you don't get that many per energy. Leaving the best option most of the time is to go into the Omni Synthesizer and just crafting the relic you want. Let's say we wanted the speed boots I was talking about for Quantum. You get a higher chance of getting the thing you want, but these relic remains don't come around that often. You can disassemble or salvage the other 5-star bad drops you get and then use those and feed into this, but most of the time it just doesn't work out that well. And even then, if you wanted speed boots, getting self-modeling resin is near impossible. It only happens like once per event, once per Pure Fiction month. It's Pure Fiction and Memory of Chaos share the same cooldown. It's like 1 month you can get a self-modeling resin. And 90% of the time I use that on speed boots and the thing I want. Or like a good crit damage body. Those are easier to come across. I don't recommend that as much. Speed boots are king in this game. Speed is king. Damage comes after. Alright, let's go to something that's a little less serious. The summoning animation. When you go and spend your tickets in Honkai Star Rail, the warps, as they call them in this game, you can go here and use one warp. We'll use one. It'd be crazy if we got them right here. Nah, we can't do it. We gotta save. But when you summon, the train animation is very cool. Seeing Pom Pom freak out when it's a 5-star getting blown away. But what happens, you see the logo pop up. It's Nihility. And you're like, oh, it's going to be Akron. And then her portrait pops up, and that's it. A portrait you've seen before. A portrait that was in every bit of advertisement. A portrait you can go to the databank and see. It's the same art as in all these pictures, basically, but you know, the big splash of it. In some games, like Tectone's been hard selling Cookie Run Kingdom for months. They have a whole animation. Their their pulling animations are a lot different. There's like an oven going on. It's going through stages. That goes through stages. The witch was making the cookie batter or some shit. And then once it actually gets to the part where you start to find out what character it is, you get a voice line. You get an animation. The character comes up. It's an animated section. Imagine if Honkai Star Rail, you pull for Kafka. This would have been early in the game too. It would have blown everyone's dicks off. You put the tickets in. You see the ticket has the little rainbow effect, double vision. The train's flying by, the music's different, it's hype. You're losing your shit, you're screaming. Your shirt's already off. The train stops. Yellow gold starts to appear around the door. It opens up. And then the perspective changes where the focus is on the steps off the express. Super low camera angle. And Kafka's boot steps on the step. It moves a little bit. She steps off again, and you hear her say, my. Thought you'd get sick of seeing me. Or something. Where she's like, oh, you're not tired of little old me? Or you wanted to see me again? Something like that. And then it cuts to her like throwing her jacket behind her, like at the end of the animated trailer where they were causing the uprising. Imagine Blade stepping off. God, what would Blade do? You see Blade's boot hit the step, hit the ground. Oh man, what the fuck would Blade do? He's not happy to be anywhere, so he'd be super emo about it, be like, why did you choose me? Must I suffer? Must I suffer too? Like, must I suffer your presence as well? But he like looks super hot. Jing Yuan steps off, boots, hit the ground, hits the step, hits the ground. And then you hear, are you in need of reinforcements? I am the reinforcements. And it's him like with like the kind of electricity effect when he's in game. Do I have a team for Jing Yuan? Come on. So imagine you pull Jing Yuan and it's like, reinforcements? I am the reinforcements. Something like that. It wouldn't even be hard to give it a little pizzazz. I mean, I'm saying like a 10-second animation per 5-star. 4 stars, who gives a shit? Maybe Oh, sorry, we can't talk over the general. But but imagine even bigger than that. They could go crazy with it if they wanted to. Maybe even plays like a little bit of the character's trailer, where it's like the longer version of the same trailer. Jingwon steps off onto the ground. Reinforcements. I am the reinforcements. And then it goes through like a montage from the trailer where he's fighting, and then it cuts to the low angle where you're looking up at him, and then he summons the Lightning Lord. You could do so much with it, and it's pretty lazy just having the splash art come up, because I would love a lot more in-depth version of that. This is even smaller thing, but I think this is due to it being a mobile game where they have to limit processing power. When characters are talking, it reminds me a lot of like older Fallout games where you talk to the person and they have the same blank expression. I think this was improved a bit in Penacony with some of the scenes, especially like certain scripted parts. But a lot of times when Stell talks with people, you see her, when she introduces herself, she takes her right hand and puts it on like her collarbone. Like, oh, I am Stell. I play Stell, don't play Callus. Need more water. And she'll put her hands on her hips like, you don't belong here. And then there's like the battle stance where she gets kind of lower, like she's going to pull out her bat or lance. The thinking, which is the hand on the chin. If you notice, all the characters have the same animations like that. Same with March, same with every NPC you talk to that has the same basic ass clothing as every other NPC. I think Zenless Zone Zero is going to have a better version of this. At least I hope. They look like they're going hard on like the facial animations and stuff. Like if you look during like their characters' animations, Ultimates, Billy is fucking crazy, and I love it. A good example of this is post Cocolia scene. Everyone knows after Firefly plays and it ends, if anyone hasn't gone deep into the game, something sad happens. I'm not going to say what. But none of the characters even have tears. You would think at least Bronya would have a sad face and not kind of a blank one. Like during the animated cutscene, she's going crazy, yeah. But you would expect at least some of the characters to have tears, maybe even March feeling for someone, but instead she's just like, we did it! Which goes into a point I have later on. It's the emotional whiplash. We'll do it now. So this crazy shit happens with Cocolia in the gang. The fucking animation is insane. Disintegration in the dust. And then it would just go about our day. Within 10 seconds. March is like, we did it. So what are we going to do about the Stellaron now? We'll have Welt and Himiko come see. Like, they're already going on about other shit. And it's like, damn. What the fuck just happened? Locha gets caught for being a bad dude, and it just kind of, yeah, whatever. He just gets arrested. If you're still not caught up on the story, the shit involving Robin, it just happened. Granted, that was a cliffhanger, but it's just like that could have been a lot more. And I felt like it when we came back in 2.1, we didn't really talk about the actual event that much. Like only Sunday was the one really voicing emotion about it. Where everyone was like, "Yeah, that other person died." Damn, she died. That's crazy. I mean, other people didn't know, of course. But it's just like we must solve the mystery for Firefly. And Robin. No one was saying that. Everyone was like, for Firefly. Me too. And I feel like one thing is when Jing Yuan gets a little bit fucked up by Fantilia, he just goes and takes a nap, and we're cool with that. The way that they made it in the story made it seem like Fantilia put a permanent injury into him, and it was like gonna cause him to die in like a month. You know, like poisoned his soul or some shit. If you go back and watch that sequence, it looks more than like, oh, the motherfucker just needs to take a nap. Like he was getting fucked and he was acting really weird, and I think he nearly fainted. Like, what was that about? All right, whatever. This is a lot better, I feel like, in most of Penacony. But that Cocolia scene sticks out like a sore thumb to me. Too much of the plot happens off screen. And what do I mean by off screen? A lot of times, like, you show up somewhere and they're like, yeah, this crazy thing happened. And can you deal with, like, the consequences? But we're not there for, like, the actual shit that went on. The Lofu story, the Jinjiao Lofu story, was disliked by a lot of people because it seemed like all the cool shit happened, like, 500 years ago or whatever. 100, 300, 500 years ago. Like, even I thought Jing Liu coming was going to be the craziest shit. Like, we had that scene where Jing Yuan is standing in the divine seat area with the gigantic chessboard, and the other guards, and their ice starts appearing on the floor, and she's like, "Hello, Jing Yuan." And I thought some shit was about to happen, but she was just turning herself in. It was like all the good shit happened off screen, aside from the whole Ting Yuan part. I think that was a really good part to have that early on in the game. But even then, the mood was really strange about that. They made you like 70% sure that she was still alive somewhere. Spoiler. And a lot of stuff also happens not with the main character. I'm going to briefly touch on this last point because the main character has seen Sunday like one time right in the beginning. So much as Sunday is important to the story, and I feel like and Acheron talked with Sunday out of like the main crew. And Aventurine talked to main character as well. But we saw her less than Robin pretty much because Robin was at least close to us and like was offering to help us. Instead it was like, okay, let's fucking go. And that was it. One of the most important characters, the main characters met one time. Let's go back to Robin. They had to hint at her about losing her voice, and we just like saw that shit for like 1 second. I think it would have been good if it was like a bit longer, like we heard more of her clear singing. This is this very selfish thing. I love the music in Honkai, so I would have loved to have more of a like maybe she was singing, and maybe like 2 minutes in, her voice starts to crack a bit, and she stops practice. That would have been crazy, and people could have been more hooked on the character from the get-go. I know some people are crazy about it, but that's just how I feel. Duke Inferno got treated bad, man. He got off-screened, zero animation, still image, gutted. Bro, he was gonna be a cool character. I wanted him to be a good villain, even if he wasn't like the villain. I wanted him to be one of the baddies. But dude got off-screened like a bitch. I know they say he fought valiantly for his children, but dude, he didn't leave a mark. He was cannon fodder. Let's be real. He got off screen. I wanted to see him fucking fight one time. Like, maybe, like, I wanted to see flames erupt from this dude's head and engulf a room. Even if he did that and then Acheron cut through it without a scratch, that would have been so fucking hype. Instead, we see him, like, on the ground, like, "I will not surrender. You must kill me." It's like, dude, imagine if we saw that Acheron steps in and he's like Emanator of the Hunt or Pathstrider of the Hunt. How dare you step in here? Get the fuck out. Starts heating up. She takes more steps close to him. He erupts in flames. Starts to engulf her in the room. In just a single slash and he's fucking dead. That would have been at least cool to show the power scaling, this power levels between Duke Inferno and Acheron, but instead we just see him on the ground looking pathetic. And we farm his gear for Jing Yuan and Topaz and shit. Okay, we've all heard the shit on Twitter, on YouTube. The shippers are the most cringe part. And I'm not talking about people that are just like, oh, Branya, Zile are cute together. Yeah, whatever. A cute lesbian couple, and there's like precedent from Honkai Impact 3rd where they kissed, I think, or something. I don't know. I've never played the game. Seems cool though. Quotations. Even the fucking cat. They want they want everyone to feel like they can be with the characters. That is intentional because they don't want people to feel divided based on a character's sexuality. Like, oh, I was going to pull for Robin, but I have no chance with her because I'm a dude. No. They're not going to do that. And also, there became this weird thing where you can't think a character's hot. Even if in the game they're considered lesbian. There's not very many good examples because they tend to not make lesbian characters insanely hot. Oh, let's say Shaban in Honkai. Let's go visit her. I haven't seen her in a while. Now we know this character, Shaban, is at least bisexual. Pretty heavily hinted at. You know, I'm willing to say over 50% chance that she's at least into women. Maybe into men, but you know. And she's hot, she's cute, she's funny. I'm gonna say she's hot. And damn. Does that mean I should get canceled in real life? Killed by wrist slit and bled out on the street? No, that's an observation. I could say a dude's hot that's straight. Like Jing Yuan, I can look at him and say, damn, I want to cuddle with this dude. I could be Little Spoon and he could be Big Spoon and we'd just take naps all day because he's a nappy dude. That's fine. Everybody. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. And the last point. And I think people forget this. They aren't fucking real. These are not real people. These are not characters of a real... I hear his voice in the background. Boy, I need you to calm down. They're not real. You can't sexually assault a not real character by drawing Rule 34 of them deep-throating a dick. Whether you think they're lesbian or they're a straight dude deep-throating a dick. That's not how this works. You could say it's weird. You could say, I think this character's this way, or I think this character's more into girls. Whatever. It's fine. Don't bug other people about it. Everything considered, I think it's still the best gacha game. Community's getting a little bit bored. You can tell when you look on Twitter. Can't wait for 2.2. 2.2. Yeah. Oh, man, I'm so excited for 2.2. So this shit has been crazy, and I just want this to be good. So I need the community to rein it in a little. You guys are getting a little too far out there. They drank too much Soul Glad. I need them back on Earth for a bit. These aren't real. These aren't real people. And that's okay. They're free use for everybody. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. It's still the best gacha game by far. I haven't played that many, but so far it's been the best one. Experience from level 1 to 70. Characters 1 to 80. 1 point, I think I started 1.2 to 2.1. So those are just the gripes I have about the game. So now let's drink.